Hello everyone, welcome to the 2015 Ontario Cup Tournament Host Workshop and District Ontario Cup Coordinator Workshop. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. We're holding another webinar this evening, but we're happy that we could accommodate some people by doing one this afternoon. My name is Robin McComb, Senior Manager of Events with the Ontario Soccer Association, and you've all heard Ryan Tusky, Coordinator Events with the Ontario Soccer Association as well. We are going to present the workshop to you this afternoon. And again, if you have any questions, as Ryan said, raise your hand. We will stop at certain points during the presentation to allow time for questions. So if you want to wait until that period, you can. Otherwise, just raise your hand if it's something we're discussing at the time. Okay, the agenda for today, we've done the introduction of the workshop and the people that will be presenting. Next, we'll be talking about points of contact and roles and duties. We'll then discuss the online management system for Ontario Cup. Ryan will walk you through the processes involved with our online management system. And then we'll go through a step-by-step guide on tournament procedures. We'll talk a little bit about referees in the Ontario Cup, do a small portion on discipline, highlight a few competition rules that may affect you, and then a question and answer session. And then hopefully we'll wrap things up after that. So as most of you probably are already aware, the Ontario Cup draw was held on Monday, April 13th at the Soccer Centre. This year we had a total of 458 teams that have entered the competition. And those teams have all been drawn into their divisions. And for those that are hosting tournament groups, they've all been assigned to tournament groups and assigned a team number within their tournament groups. We have a total of 83 tournaments that will be played between June 12th and July 26th. And that's all over the province, from Thunder Bay to Ottawa to Windsor to Niagara. The whole province is covered with tournament hosts from various clubs. Okay, points of contact. District Ontario Cup Coordinator is the point of contact between the teams, clubs, and the OSA. They're the liaison between the participants and the Ontario Soccer Association. So any teams or clubs that have questions relating to the Ontario Cup should go to their District Ontario Cup Coordinator, or DOC as we like to call them, for the answers. If the DOC is not able to assist, then the DOC will come to Ryan or myself, staff at the OSA, to provide answers. And then we'll give the answer to the DOC, who would then relay that information back to the teams and the clubs. We try to avoid the teams and clubs coming directly to the Ontario Soccer Association. We'd like it to go through the District Ontario Cup Coordinator. There is a list of phone numbers that will be in the tournament host manual, which you will be receiving shortly, and all the District Ontario Cup phone numbers will be there. The district administrator sometimes is the DOC as well, and they are another point of contact for clubs and teams. If they have questions, they can go to their district administrator, who will then check with the OSA for information if necessary. And then, as I mentioned, OSA staff, myself and Ryan, are available to answer questions from district administrators and DOCs, and our information is there. So quickly run through the roles and duties. As I mentioned, the District Ontario Cup Coordinator is the liaison between teams, clubs, and the OSA. The District Ontario Cup Coordinator also assists with scheduling of games. The teams and clubs would provide their game details to the District Ontario Cup Coordinator, who would then provide the field times and game locations to the OSA. And also reporting of results. Any results from single knockout rounds would go through the District Ontario Cup Coordinator. They would also ensure that the tournament host has reported all of the scores as required. The discipline chairs from the district associations are involved at mostly at the tournament rounds, when the district association appoints a discipline chair to be the discipline person on site at each tournament round that's held within its district association. And they would manage any discipline issues that arise, red cards, or if a discipline hearing is required. But we'll discuss discipline a little bit later in the webinar. District administrators, as I mentioned, are also similar functions to the District Ontario Cup coordinator, and every district association has a different setup. So sometimes most of the information will come through the district administrators, and they'll look after field scheduling and result reporting and all of those administrative areas, and others will go strictly through the doc. So it all depends on the district association and how they choose to manage it. And then the district referee coordinator is one from each district association, and they are responsible for appointing referees to all of the youth games from under 13 to under 18. And then the senior games are appointed by the OSA appointers, but district referee coordinators would do the appointing for the youth divisions. Okay, I'm going to turn it over now to Ryan, who will now discuss the website, and he'll go through that with you.
Okay, thanks, Robin. Guys, this slide is just a screenshot of our website. I wanted to show you where you can access on our website the Ontario Cup schedule, as well as the draw charts. You're just going to want to go to the blue competitions tab across the top, get to Ontario Cup Outdoor, and then the top flyout there is Ontario Cup schedule and draw charts. So I'm going to do a quick overview of, I guess we'll call it a tournament convener guide, let you know how to set up your tournament schedule online. We use a system that this is our third year, I believe now, through E2E. So if you're in the soccer community, you've likely used E2E, whether as a league management system, ref center, coach center. It's very popular amongst the soccer community. So we use E2E. It's given some of the responsibility back to the tournament host as far as scheduling and results reporting goes. You will each be provided with a login, whether you're a doc or a tournament host. You'll be provided login information, so a username and a password, and you will receive that by email. Robin, do we have a time when we're planning on sending that out?
Sorry, just making sure I'm in front of the microphone. They will be hopefully sent out by the end of the week. We're just trying to work through a few issues with the provider on some changes to the system that we need to make. Once those are made, then we'll be able to send those logins out to you. Like I say, we're hoping by the end of the week, but as soon as possible, they will go out.
Okay, thanks, Robin. So just to give an overview of what this system will enable you to do, you're going to be able to schedule your games, so times and field venues, but you're also going to have the opportunity to submit tournament site information, and in the website I'll show you that. It's called Site Details, and this outlines the section where you can describe some of the, I guess, amenities that come with the facility. So if they have washrooms, if they have change rooms, concessions, spectator seating, stuff like that. You also have the opportunity during and at the end of your tournament to enter game results. And the website will also automatically calculate standings based on those results. If at any time throughout the year you have any trouble with the website, give myself or Robin a call or email, and we can try to walk you through whatever the problem is. There's a note here at the bottom: must use Firefox in capital red letters. This was something we figured out after last year, that for whatever reason this website doesn't work as well if you're using Internet Explorer, or I'm not sure about Chrome or Safari, but we found that Firefox is the one that seems to work best. So if you can, please use Firefox when you're using this online system. So I'm just gonna escape out of here and get into Firefox and walk you through how to do one of these schedules. So the first thing you need to do, you need to go to our website, which is www.ontariosoccer.net. So I've already pulled up that page. like I said earlier, competitions tab, Ontario Cup Outdoor, and then that top flyout Ontario Cup schedule and draw charts. So the second, link here that says click here for tournament round schedules. When you click on that, that's going to fire up our OntarioCup.ca website. This is the website hosted by E2E, and this is where all the scheduling and results will take place. What we're going to do, Richmond Hill Soccer Club and Barbara from Richmond Hill has provided us with a schedule for the under 16 boys tier 1 group that Richmond Hill is hosting. So I've spoken to Barb earlier today, and I've asked her if I can use her login to demonstrate how to do the schedule. So I'm going to log in as Barb. So Barb at richmondhillsoccer.com, and I won't tell you guys what her password is. So I'll log in. Invalid login. Oh, I missed an L in Richmond Hill. Here we go. Okay, so we are in. First thing I want to highlight is at the top. When you log in, you're going to see these blue tabs. When you're logged in, there's a nice convener tab. This is where you're going to do any scheduling or results entering. So we're going to click on that blue convener tab. On the left side, you notice there's a few menu options. To actually schedule your tournaments, you're going to want to go to the Schedule Games tab. So you'll notice here there's a few things. First off, there's a drop-down menu where you can pick your tournament. Since I'm logged in as Barb, she can only see the under 16 boys tier 1 group 1, which is the tournament that Richmond Hill is hosting. If you are a club that is hosting multiple tournaments, you will be able to see multiple tournament drop-downs here. Since Richmond Hill is just doing the one tournament, there's only the one listed here. Also on the right side here, there's a field section. And since Richmond Hill is in York Region, there are only York Region fields listed here. So that'll be the same depending on the district you're from. If you're from Ottawa, then it will only be the EODSA fields that you can see. If when you go to schedule your tournaments and you get to this stage and you find that the field you're going to use is not listed here for some reason, let us know. Send myself or Robin an email, and we can have the E2E staff add a field. Since this E2E system is used for many league management systems, for the most part, all of the fields in Ontario are in here. But if it's a relatively new field or a field that doesn't get used very often, it may not be there. So if that's the case, just let us know. The other thing I wanted to point out is the schedule is already kind of pre-populated. So the game numbers on the left here, 165, 166, and so on. Also the matchups. So the first game, Milton versus Hamilton. This is the order that the tournament needs to be played in. At the Ontario Cup draw, teams are not only drawn to groups, but they're also drawn to team spots within that group. And there's a set order that the games need to take place in. So the system knows that, and that's why it set these up. So please make sure to schedule these games in the order that you see them there. For example, don't schedule this first game, 165, at 5 o'clock in the evening, and then the game below it at 11 o'clock in the morning. They need to stay in order. So what I'm going to do quickly is I've got Barb's schedule here, so I'm going to schedule it. She's got her first game at 11 in the morning, so that can stay as is. Second game is at 12:30. And this is a 24-hour clock, guys. So please don't put, for example, Barb's third game, is at 3:30 in the afternoon. Please don't put a 3 there. That means 3 a.m. So 3:30 is 15. 30 is 30. And then the fourth game that day is at 5 o'clock. So that would be 17. On Sunday, there's just the two games. We have 11 a.m. and then 12:30 again. So I usually set the times first, but that's up to you. And then next I got to do the fields. So Barb has this tournament set up for Crosby Park. So for each one, I will have to put Crosby Park. Okay, so I've put in my times, I've put in my fields, I just verify that everything is okay. Looks good, so then once you've done that, you need to click on submit. So I click submit. In red text at the top, the games have been scheduled, so that is your notification that the system has accepted that schedule. This is only half of the job though. You've now put in your times and your venues, but you also have to do what I mentioned earlier, your site details. So on the left side here where you have the schedule games tab, 3 more down is site details. So this is the section where you're going to put in information about the venue. So again, the drop down only shows the tournaments that you have available to you. So Richmond Hill has under 16 tier 1 group 1. So starting with please enter the city where the tournament is hosted. This is in Richmond Hill. Change rooms. So I don't think Barb's on the call, but I'm not familiar with Crosby, so I'm just going to make up these as we go, and then I'll ask Barb to update it before we make it live. Change rooms, I'm going to say yes. Washrooms, yes in the recreation center, if that exists. I'm sorry if you're familiar with this facility and this is wrong, but spectator facilities, yes. Concessions in the rec center. On the spectator facility part, guys, I'm going to go back up. Yes, there's bleachers. I'll be specific. And then at the bottom here, nearest hospital. So we want you to include the name of the nearest hospital. I believe in Richmond Hill is Mackenzie Richmond Hill Hospital, not soccer club. I have soccer on the mind. Hospital. And finally, at the bottom, we want you to include a Google map to where that hospital is. So it's very simple how to do that. I've opened up another tab here. I've already Googled Mackenzie Richmond Hill Hospital. When you do that, on the right side here, you get a nice little map of where the hospital is. You click on that Google Maps, and it's going to show you where exactly that hospital is. Very simple. You just click into the URL, Control C or copy that link. We're going to go back to the site details page, and we're just going to paste that into the field. So now I'm going to click submit. And again, it brings me to the top of the page. Your tournament site details have been updated. Guys, really important to make sure you do these site details and not just the scheduled games part. In previous years, schedules have not been able to be made live to the public until the site details are finished. So just because you do your venue and your times, if you don't do the site details part, that schedule won't be shown to the public. So make sure that you do the site details as well. Once this stuff is submitted, it won't be live on the website right away. There is a approval process where either myself or Robin, we review all of the schedules, make sure the games are in the right order at the right times, make sure the site details are completed, and then we will approve that schedule. Once that schedule is approved, it will be online and available for the public to see. One thing to note as well, if you've submitted your schedule and we have approved it and it's available to the public, and for whatever reason you need to make a change, whether that's field, the time, something on the site details, whatever it is, you can't make those changes when the tournament's already been approved by us. You need to let either myself or Robin know, and then that way we can go in, log in as staff, and make that change for you. So any changes after approved, just please let us know. Okay, a couple more tabs I want to just bring your attention to. Same thing logged in this convener, this blue convener tab on the left side. There is a view games section. I'm going to click on that. I just want to bring your attention to, there's nothing here right now because this the schedule hasn't been approved yet, even though we've submitted it. Nothing's going to show up here until we've approved it. But on the right side here at the top, there's an export to Excel function. You just may find that useful if you're better organized using Excel rather than the website, or you want to print off schedules and bring them to your tournaments. That's a nice, easy feature. The other one I wanted to bring up was referees. There's a referee section. So again, there's nothing listed here right now because the tournament isn't live and referees haven't been appointed or assigned. But when the referees are assigned, you will have a list of referees here, so you'll know the names of the refs that are expected to be at each game. And there's also a contact section where you can email the referees in advance if you'd like to, or touch base with them. Also, if you find day of your tournament a referee is late or hasn't shown up yet, you have contact information, so you can get a hold of them if you need to. The only other thing I want to go through, guys, that's sort of how to schedule tournaments. I'm going to log out, and I just want to show you so you can let your teams know where to find the schedules if they're looking. So I've logged out now. If I'm a player, a team, coach, manager, whoever, on the home page, there's a blue tab. You'll notice the convener tab is gone because we're logged out. But the games tab is there. So you want to click on games. And then on the left side, again, there's some menu options down to tournaments. So you click on tournaments, and then you'll have all these options here. So I'm going to go to the under 16 tier 1 group 1. And this is what the page will look like, except the schedule will be there. The reason the schedule wasn't being shown is because the schedule hasn't been approved. But that top section will show the schedule, the fields, the game times, and who's playing who. The next section is standings. So when you input scores, these standings will automatically update themselves. And then at the very bottom, there's a site information section. So that's where we filled in all the information about the venue. And again, Barb, I will ask her to update this for Crosby Park because I am not familiar with that facility. So that's where you should direct any of your parents, coaches, or managers who want to see results. That's how to get there. So there's one more thing I want to show you, and I'm going to jump back to our slideshow here. There's a section here that I included in the slideshow rather than on the website because you won't really be able to see anything on the website right now. This is the results section. You'll notice at the top again, these blue tabs, convener is now there again. So when I took this screenshot, I'm logged in as a tournament host. On the left side, you'll recall there was the scheduled games portion. That's where you actually scheduled your games and site details. When your tournament has started, this game scores tab will be available to you, and you can go in and actually put in your scores. If you went to try to go to that game scores tab right now, you wouldn't see anything because the game scores, you're not able to input any scores until the games have actually kicked off. So as soon as the tournament has started, this page will be available to you, and you're able to put in scores. We would like, if it's possible, for you to update scores in real time. So if you've got 4 games on Saturday, if you can update the scores after each game on Saturday, that would be great. If that's not an option, at least at the end of the day, if you could please log in, go to the game score section and then update your scores. So that about covers the, I guess, online system. Is there any questions about that, guys? I know a lot of you would have dealt with this last year. For some of you, it may be brand new, but is there any questions about those processes? Okay, Carol has a question. Robin, can you unmute Carol, please? Carol, go ahead.
Hi, so this is actually new to me. I'm a volunteer for the team.
Okay.
I've typed the question as well, but my question is, are we just entering this information in on behalf of the club and our age division, or are we creating schedules?
Well, the online system, we already have all of the teams, for the most part, split into groups. So like I showed when I logged in as Barb from Richmond Hill, the teams are already listed in order. So who's playing who and in which order is already established. It's just the responsibility of the club, or if you want to give that responsibility to that team who's hosting, you can do that. But the responsibility is to put in the times and the venue. The actual inputting the teams, that's already done by us. Is that what you're asking?
Okay, so the schedule side of it as to who's playing who is done, but we have to slot it into tournament spaces and time slots that fit within our city.
Correct. So there's a pre-established, because of the Ontario Cup draw, teams are not just drawn into a group, but they're also drawn into a team number within that group. And there's a preset order of how those games need to take place. So that is already established on the website. You just need to put in where and when, essentially.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, so I'll talk to our club as to what, a volunteer's responsibility is versus the club's, I guess.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, is there any other questions, guys, before we move on? Mahmoud, you have a question? We'll try to unmute you again. Do you want to try talking it out? And if not, we'll have to read what you type. We can hear you moving some stuff around, but your voice is extremely faint. Okay, Robin's got the question. She's going to read it out to everybody.
So Mahmoud's question is, when is the deadline for making these schedules? In the competition rules, it does say that the deadline is May 15th, which is this Friday. Unfortunately, because of this, some changes we're making to the system, we aren't able to get you your login information and those schedules in just yet. So we will be extending that deadline. Hopefully we will have the logins for you by the end of the week, and we would like to have all the schedules in by the end of the following week, which I think is the 22nd, I believe, or something along those lines. We will communicate that information to you as well, but the sooner we get these in, the better, because teams are trying to make their travel arrangements already, and they want to know what fields they're playing on and what times their games are. So the sooner we get it in, the better. And I think that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else before we move on? Okay, doesn't look like it, so I'm going to pass things back over to Robin. I think we may have one more question, guys. Hang on. Mahmoud, can you try talking out your question again? I'll try to listen very closely.
Sorry, Mahmoud, we got your question that you typed in. The question was, will convener packages be mailed to the convener? Yes, I'm actually going to be talking about that a little bit later in the presentation. So there will be a package that goes out, and I'll fill you in on more details shortly.
Yeah, guys, this question and answer is just sort of related to the online stuff. Robin's going to go through a lot of the prep work for these tournaments and day of responsibilities, stuff like that. So if there's no other questions about the website, for now, I'll pass it over to Robin. If you do think of something, again, raise your hand. Or if it's tomorrow or next week, whatever, give myself or Robin a call and we can walk you through it. So I'll pass it back to Robin.
Okay, we're going to go through a step-by-step guide to organizing your Ontario Cup tournament. So the first thing you want to do with your tournament is make sure that the field bookings are confirmed and that you've checked on the conditions of the field. So before you put anything into the schedules regarding the fields that you want to be playing on, make sure that those bookings are confirmed, that you have permits for those fields. And we also recommend that you actually check on the condition of the fields. Some of these fields are booked back in the fall, and you don't know what the condition of the field will be now, or if it's played on heavily in the spring when the weather doesn't cooperate and it gets destroyed. We want the games for Ontario Cup to be played on the best possible conditions there are, so we just ask that you make sure that these are suitable field conditions for Ontario Cup. Tournament schedules. So I think Ryan went through the process for putting the schedules into the system on the website, but there are a few things that you need to make sure that you keep in mind when doing your schedule. I think Ryan already mentioned the games must be played in the same order as the template. So they're already put in the system, but make sure that the times you put in follow the same order that the games are to be played in. You may play 2 games at one time. If you've got more than one field, you are welcome to use 2 fields and they can be played at the same time. Rule 10.0 of the Ontario Cup competition rules gives you the duration of games depending on the age division that you are hosting. So you can refer to that to make sure you know how long the games will be. There is no overtime in the tournament rounds. The games can end in a draw. Teams must have a minimum of 90 minutes of rest between games. So when you're scheduling, if you're using one field, you need to make sure that teams have that minimum 90 minutes rest between games. No games can kick off before 11 a.m. or after 5 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. So do not try to schedule games before 11 a.m. and they should not be scheduled after 5. That's not to say that if there are delays in games that a game cannot kick off after 5, but they have to be scheduled by 5 p.m. For those that have a tournament group in the under 13s, 14s, or 15s, I don't have 15s written in there, but the 13s, 14s, and 15s this year, the Friday games cannot kick off before 4 p.m. or after 9 p.m. And not related to tournament schedules really, but each team will pay 50% of the referee fees. We'll talk about referee fees a little bit later as well. Tournament information. The more information that we can give to these teams about the tournament they're going to, the better the experience will be for them. Ryan talked about the site details that you can post on the website. The medical facilities that are provided, that's a good thing to indicate up there. Where the nearest hospital is, he showed you how to put that Google map into the system so that teams can easily find that information. Everybody's got a smartphone these days, so they can easily look up this website and find out the site details. So if there is an emergency and somebody's looking for a hospital, they can easily access that through the website. If your club is planning on any special events that you might want to be running during this tournament round, if you're going to plan a barbecue or something along those lines, there's an opportunity to put that in the site detail section as well. There's a note section there that you can fill in any information regarding any other events or things that might be happening in the city at the time that your tournament round is going on. Again, any sightseeing features that may not be an event that's going on, but if there are any things within your city that teams would typically like to go and see while they're in that city, it's nice to put that in there as well. And local hotel information for traveling teams. If you have made any arrangements with any local hotels for teams, then we can pass that information on to the teams. It might be helpful for them if they're trying to make arrangements. Something else to mention is that we do have an agreement. The Ontario Soccer Association does have an agreement with IHG, which stands for Intercontinental Hotel Group. The chain of hotels that are included in the IHG system is Intercontinental, Holiday Inn, Crown Plaza, Indigo, and some other ones as well. So there's quite a few different hotels. They have 72 properties throughout the province. And we will be sending out some information to all the teams about how to go about booking hotels at those sites to get a special rate through the Ontario Soccer Association partnership. Okay, now just to talk a little bit about referees scheduling and appointments. As a tournament host, please make sure that you confirm the tournament schedule and pass it on to the District Ontario Cup coordinator. So even though you've put it up on the website, which incidentally, when it does go up on the website, it automatically goes into Ref Center. So the district referee coordinator will see the schedule of games within Ref Center and can appoint the referees. But we do ask you to send that information to the District Ontario Cup coordinator so that they have a copy of the schedule and can make sure that the referees are being appointed by the district referee coordinator. The district referee coordinator is the person in charge of signing all of the game officials. However, the doc should be following up to make sure that the DRC has assigned referees to all the games. With the system now on Ref Center, it's very easy to follow the appointments that have been made and can ensure that the games are going to be covered and all the games have been assigned. And as Ryan mentioned and showed to you, once the refs are appointed, the tournament convener will be able to see those referees and their contact information. So you can see yourselves that the referees have been appointed, and if you needed to contact them for any reason, their contact information is there. So the discipline committee on site. So each tournament host will have an on-site discipline committee. The discipline committee, first we'll talk about the OSA discipline committee. There is an Ontario Cup discipline committee that manages all the discipline for Ontario Cup. But at the tournament host, the district association will assign a chair, which will be the tournament discipline chair on site at the tournament. So any discipline that comes up during the tournament would be handled by the discipline chair. If a hearing is required, then the discipline chair will find two other members to sit on the panel. It could be the convener of the tournament plus one other member from the organizing committee, as long as the people that are being used for discipline are not involved with the teams that are related to the discipline that's taking place. And competition rule 15.0 can be used as a guide. So pre-tournament prep. Provide schedule and field name with address by May 20th. That's a date that we said we would consider moving that date based on the fact that we're still working on getting logins to all of the conveners. Confirm your field bookings and conditions. Arrange volunteers. Volunteers are very important for these tournaments. They cannot be run by one person alone. So make sure that you have enough people to ensure that the tournament goes off without any issues. That would involve having a convener who will be managing the competition on site. Field conveners that can, if you've got more than one field going on, you would need a few field conveners to assist. There's a referee coordinator on site, hopefully, that can look after the referees as they arrive and make sure that their paperwork is handed in and they're paid accordingly. Somebody to look after the volunteers, making sure that they've got food and water. So arranging volunteers is a key part of the tournament preparation. And checking in with your District Ontario Cup coordinator is also a good idea, just to confirm the referee schedule as we talked about, and to make sure that there has been a discipline chair appointed to your tournament. So in the mail, you will receive a tournament host package. This package will contain quite a few pieces of information for you. There is a checklist that you'll get, which you can run through, which will help you to make sure you've covered off everything before your tournament. There'll be extra team sheets. Although teams can print team sheets online, it's possible that they may leave home without them. So we do provide extra team sheets for you, which you can have on hand just in case. Extra discipline Ontario Cup discipline summary forms. We'll talk about this summary form later on in the workshop, but there'll be extra ones provided in the package. A tournament round schedule that you can have on hand. If you don't print it yourself, we'll provide you with one. Referee caution, dismissal, and special incident reports. A tournament round point summary chart, and a directory of teams in your tournament. So the directory of teams in your tournament will provide you with the team name, the contact information, and the team colors that each team will be wearing while they're there. So it comes to the weekend of the tournament, and we'll just run through a few pre-game processes to go through before your tournament actually starts, but when you arrive at the tournament site. So it's a good idea to arrive early. Teams will start arriving about an hour before their first game, so you want to make sure that you're there at least an hour and a half before that first game. You need to set up your headquarters, make sure that you have all of your paperwork that you received in the package and anything else that you feel you should have on site. Make sure you have a copy of the referee schedule on hand. Game balls, as a tournament host, you'll be responsible for providing game balls for the competition. Make sure they're inflated ahead of time, but bring an air pump just in case they need to be inflated at the field. Make sure that the field has nets and corner flags. That's your responsibility as a tournament host to make sure the field is ready for play. Bring along a first aid kit. Sometimes some tournament hosts will make arrangements with St. John's Ambulance to provide some medical assistance during the competition, but at the very least you need to have a first aid kit on hand. Make sure there is plenty of water for hydration for volunteers and referees and anybody else that may need it. Walkie-talkies are a nice touch, especially if your setup is quite a large area. It makes it easier to communicate between volunteers. And then any other supplies that you think you might need, of things such as pens or paper clips or envelopes for game sheets, things like that. When you arrive, you should do a field inspection. Make sure that the field does not have any issues with it. Somebody hasn't gone out and dug a hole in the middle of the field overnight, and you need to fill that before the game starts. So just do a quick field inspection as soon as you arrive. As I mentioned, you need to set up a headquarters. It's a good idea if you have a tent or something that you can use for that purpose, unless your site has some kind of area or space that can be used as in place of a tent. It's a good idea to have a table in your headquarters as well that you can keep the paperwork on, and you may need some chairs as well for people throughout the day. You should find an area that you can post the schedule and result sheets so that people can go and check on the schedule or their results throughout the day. So you should have some place that you can post that information. Once you've set up your headquarters, make sure you arrange the paperwork so you know where to find everything, anything that you might need throughout the course of the tournament. As your volunteers start to arrive, you'll need to coordinate them and assign their duties, make sure that they understand what their duties are, and let them know where they need to go and when they need to be there. The arrival of teams and officials. So as you can see here, there is a team official that is arriving, being greeted by the tournament host. When the teams arrive, the tournament host will need to collect the referee fees from the teams. They must be submitted in cash, and they should be in small bills, but just in case, you might want to have a few bills on hand to provide as change, just in case somebody shows up with some big bills. Also greet the referees when they arrive and give them instructions on which field that they will be refereeing on and where they need to hand in their game sheets at the end of their game. Keep standings and accurate results. So as I mentioned, have an area that you can post these results and keep them up to date. If you can post the results online, as Ryan had mentioned, immediately following the games, then that's great too, so people can check the results on their smartphone. But it's a good idea to have them posted somewhere on site. If you come to the end of your tournament and you're not sure about tie-breaking procedures, Ontario Cup Rule 18.0 will provide you guidance on how to deal with situations where there is a tie between teams with the number of points that have accumulated. And then once you know the winner of the tournament at the end of the day, make sure that you post that as well so everybody knows who won the competition. Troubleshooting. All kinds of things can come up during the course of the tournament. Some issues that might come up would be protests. Please be aware that you, as a tournament host, do not deal with protests. somebody wants to protest a game, it goes to the OSA provincial office by Tuesday following the weekend. So you do not handle protests in any way. Refer them to the Ontario Cup competition rules on protests and let them know that they would have to submit it after the weekend. Late for games, this situation often comes up, and although we do have some rules regarding being late for games within our competition rules, a lot of it will come down to common sense and what is best for your tournament. So you'll have to deal with these situations on a case-by-case basis and make those determinations. They should follow the rules, but you also should use common sense wherever possible. And game delays, again, deal with these as best as possible. It could be a thunderstorm during the competition that delays things. You'll have to play everything by ear and make those decisions as they come. You never know what could arise throughout the day. As I mentioned earlier, kickoff cannot be scheduled after 5 p.m. However, if there are game delays for whatever reason, and the game does get delayed, it can still kick off after 5 p.m. The objective is to get the games played without causing too much of an issue with the teams and the players that puts them in a position that is not suitable for them to play. Make sure that you have a cell phone on site. I think in most cases everybody would, but just make sure that there is one available and everybody knows who to go to contact if there is an emergency. Have all the contact numbers available, and again, there's always 911 if necessary. I think the key is to stay calm in all situations. You will have irate coaches. You will have situations that arise. There will be weather issues. The important thing is to stay calm and deal with these rationally and with common sense. I think we have a question from Verge. Did you have a question?
Yeah, hi. I was wondering, like, going back to that something like protests, right?
Yes.
What if because this is the first year I'm involved with this, and I was wondering, what if there's a team or a coach who refuses to play a game because they want to protest?
The game should still be played, even if they want to protest. The game should still be played, and then the protest would be dealt with by contacting the OSA after the weekend is done. So them refusing to play does not do them any good except forfeit a game. They would need to play the game even if they are protesting it.
Okay.
If it's a question of player eligibility, there is a
it's basically player eligibility, exactly.
Yeah, so there's a place on the back of the game sheet where the referee can record any issues regarding player eligibility, and if necessary, have certain players sign to indicate that their identification. But again, it would not be handled on site. It would go to the OSA office to be reviewed after the fact. Okay, payment of referees. Each team is required to pay half the game fees in cash to the tournament host. Please make sure that at the end of the game, when it comes to paying the officials, that you do so only after you've received the game sheets and the misconduct reports. And when you receive these reports, please check to make sure that they are filled in completely, that they have filled in all of the areas that they need to, and that the information is accurate before you pay them. Also, if a discipline hearing is required, the referee must attend at a tournament. So timing is an issue here. When the game is completed, the team has a half an hour to request a hearing, but you may have to ask the referee to stand by to determine whether he needs to be in attendance at the hearing or not, but he should stay around until that's being determined. Here we have a referee who's filling in his game reports, and they're completed, and now he's being paid. Payment of referees, as I mentioned, is half of the game fees for each game that a team is playing in the tournament round. This is a chart which indicates the total amount that teams will have to pay. This says 2014. We'll be updating it to 2015, but the prices, the cost hasn't changed. The amounts have not changed, so it should remain pretty close to the same. Tournament wrap up. So you've made it through the weekend and everybody is headed home. Please make sure that the field and facility is clean and you leave it in the same condition that you found it in. The paperwork needs to be completed, so all of the results would go up on the website. Ryan showed you how to do that. Then we'd also like you to email your District Ontario Cup coordinator with the results by 7 p.m. that day. Just send them a quick note of all of the game scores. And then within 24 hours after the weekend, we'd like you to mail in all of the team sheets and misconduct reports, the discipline summary report, and there is an online tournament host evaluation that we like you to complete as well. Okay, just touch on discipline now. The discipline summary report for tournaments, it's a sheet that allows you to record any yellow, red, or special incident reports that are received. This form is extremely important for us because we need to know what discipline has happened at your tournament. Also on this report, you would indicate if there is a red card and somebody's received a suspension, it would indicate on the form how many games they were suspended for during the tournament. So, for example, if a player received a red card in the first game of the tournament and it's reviewed by the discipline chair and the discipline committee, and it's determined that the player would sit out for one game, it's a one-game suspension, then he would sit out the next game. But we need to know that that player actually did sit out that game, so it needs to be reported on the summary report. It's important that we have this accurate report because otherwise we may end up suspending players for games that they've already sat out for. And again, I just reiterate, the referees should not be paid until the game sheets and forms have been completed. So if there is any reports submitted during your competition, which is a good chance there will be, if a red card is handed out by a referee, you should assemble the discipline committee. The cautions dismissals are handled by review system, so you get your committee together and they can review the reports from the referee and assess the suspensions. Please note that a tournament host or discipline can only be served at the tournament host. You cannot suspend players from games beyond the tournament. So if a player does receive a red card in the last game of the competition, you would not need to do any discipline for that player. It would be handled by our office and suspension would be handled after. You would not assign any suspensions outside of the tournament round. If there is a request for a hearing, as I mentioned, the team has 30 minutes to request a hearing following their game, and it must be done in writing and submitted to the tournament convener, and then the discipline chair would then convene a hearing for that player. There is a section in the USA published rules which refers to the mandatory suspensions for various infractions, and you can refer to that to determine how many games a player should be suspended for. At the end, again, just to reiterate, to make sure that you complete the discipline summary report so that we know what you've done at your tournament. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan now, who's just going to highlight a few Ontario Cup competition rules.
Okay, guys, we're at our last couple slides here, so this should only be a couple more minutes. Couple rules we wanted to just highlight in the competition rules. Rule number 16 that governs Ontario Cup tournaments. So please familiarize yourselves with those. Section 18 is tie-breaking procedures. Again, hosting a tournament, make sure you're familiar with those, especially if you find yourself in a situation where there could be more than one team with the same amount of points at the end of the tournament. You want to know who's moving on. A couple of Ontario Cup competition rules. So the July 31st rule, this one's been around for a couple of years now, so most of you are probably aware of it, but in order to be eligible for the competition, a player must be registered to the club by July 31st. That applies for players registered to the team that's actually in the competition, and it also applies to call-ups. So if you want to play in the Ontario Cup, you need to be registered by July 31st. So if a player's registered August 5th, they are not able to play in the Ontario Cup. They have to be before July 31st. Substitution rule. We changed the substitution rules last year regarding when you can substitute. So originally it was just goals, goal kicks, halftime, and at the discretion of the referee with an injury. But we got a lot of feedback over the past few years about increasing that to possession throw-ins. So for all divisions, possession throw-ins are permitted for substitutions. However, that does not mean that teams can use the piggyback rule. And for those of you that don't know what that means, if I am with OSA FC and I have a throw-in, I want to make a substitution. Just because I'm making a substitution, the other team cannot decide that they want to make a substitution as well. They need to wait for their own possession throw-in. So that was what we instituted last year, and it'll be the same for this year, so just be aware of that. The only other thing I want to mention, and this was relevant last year for the first time, is OPDL teams are not permitted to enter the Ontario Cup. It's not really going to affect you guys because we've already closed entry, but just so you know. And then the last thing I want to just cover is that there's going to be an end-of-year survey that will be made available that you can fill out as well as the teams that participated. Just gives us feedback on the competition, how things ran, and then how we can maybe improve things for next year. So that will be made available at the end. And that about covers it. So we've gone through the online bit. Robin's gone through the prep work and the day of an Ontario Cup tournament. Are there any questions before we close this out, guys? Everyone can just raise your hand if you have a question. Mahmoud, if you have a question, if you could type it in. Okay, we're not seeing any other questions, so we may have one typed in.
Sorry, Virg, I'm not sure I understand your question about, or is it a comment regarding the girls' teams?
Sorry, Virg, I just unmuted you. Do you have a question?
Oh. Yeah. No, you say you want to make it successful, somehow attract more girls team because it's dying on the girls' side. There's less and less teams being entered on the grassroots level in the U13 every year. Well, my older daughter was playing and she's now U18. When she played, there was 5 teams in every group, and there was a round robin. Now you can barely make a tournament round.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, I think it's the OPDL that's killing it. But on the boys side, I see you got more than 40 teams every year. But on the girls side, it's slowly dying out.
Yeah, it's an interesting dilemma because you mentioned the OPDL. With the OPDL is now going into under 14 this year, 13 and 14, and in our under 14 boys division, I think we have 51 or 52 teams. So
Right.
the OPDL didn't seem to negatively affect it on the boys' side. So is it the OPDL that's affecting the girls' side, or is there another factor there? So that's something we would have to maybe get into our survey and consider if we can get some feedback from some of the clubs out there as to why there's a dip.
because something's killing the girls' side, and it's not OPDL. It's got to be something else. But you know, like I said, when back in the day, I think the Ontario Cup started at U12 back in the day when other daughter, and there was like 50 teams entered.
Yeah.
It was like 50 teams entered. Now you barely get 30.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we can definitely have something regarding that in the survey to try to figure out what is causing the dip, and then maybe we can better address it.
All right, that's just my comment. That's all.
No, thank you. Anybody else, guys? Before we, okay, Brett has a question. Okay, Brett, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
I just typed it in. So just wanted to confirm the OSA is assigning the game officials for the senior games and not the DRC? Correct.
Yes. I don't have it right in front of me, but the referee department, the DRCs handle the tournament rounds, as well as quarterfinals. As the age groups get older, sometimes the referee department will take that over. I believe when you get up to the under 16s and 17s, the referee department takes on the quarterfinals. And then as far as semifinals and finals go, our referee department covers that as well. And then all of the men's and under 18 and under 21. But as far as the DRC, that's mostly tournaments for the youth divisions. Okay, thanks, Brett. Anybody else, guys, before we wrap it up? Okay, doesn't look like it. So thank you very much for coming. We went 11 minutes over. We were hoping to be done by 2, so thank you for sticking it out with us. If you have any questions about your Ontario Cup tournament or about the website, please feel free to either email or give myself or Robin a call, and we can help you as best we can. So thank you again for attending, and best of luck with your tournaments, and have a great season, guys. Thank you.